So here's three quick examples of what an asset class is. One would be cash, another one would be stocks, another one would be bonds, right? Now, it's not just like, okay, let me just deploy my money equally there. What does it look like within the diversification, also within the weighted measurement model? We'll get deeper on that as the video goes on, but always remember, if your team is in place and it's tied to your economic philosophy, when winter comes, you are not going to be left holding a bag. So I've given those three examples. And by the way, these are the traditional examples. These are the ones that we hear about all the time. Historically, there have been essentially three main asset classes: equities, which are stocks, fixed income, which are bonds, and cash equivalent or money market instruments. Today, though, many new forms of asset classes are on the rise. But let me just say one thing. When you look at these three, they've been around the longest and they have the biggest advertisement dollars behind them, which is why you always hear about them. Okay, family, so now we just went over the common traditional asset classes that we hear about every day. We're now going to step into the space where we go beyond that, right? We add this on top of that for certain folks. And this is important to understand what the modern asset classes look like that could really help you turbocharge your wealth. So these days, asset classes include real estate. Now, when you have a fiduciary, they may talk about a REIT. So we're not saying do a REIT or don't do a REIT, but I'm just trying to give you the distinction between real estate and a REIT. A lot of entrepreneur clients I have, they're not really buying REITs, they're buying real estate. So like I said, these asset classes include real estate, commodities, futures, other financial derivatives, even cryptocurrencies in the asset class mix. Investors buy and sell these assets for the purposes of generating additional income. Now, I'm not here to suggest to buy and sell. Our thought process at all times is to really create a mix, understand how to create more leverage so you have liquidity, so when winter comes, you could take advantage of other opportunities. And when you look at crypto, when you look at financial derivatives, when you look at commodities and futures, and you understand that product mix, which by the way, it's hard to do on your own, and that's why you want all your professionals on the same page, what begins to happen is you have opportunities when everything else is on sale. Everyone's running east looking for a sunset, and you're buying things on discount. It is super important that you have your accountant connect to your fiduciary. I'm not a fiduciary. To your trust officer, to your insurance agent on what we're about to talk about. Because if that happens, and I keep talking about the right hand and the left hand, and by the way, these folks work for you, you don't work for them, the job would be, especially in the turmoil that we're in right now, for them to get on the same page once they understand what your economic philosophy is, and that could take us right over to the asset class strategy. So an asset class strategy, an investment in a particular asset class, is an investment in a pool of similar securities, correlated. So correlated assets versus uncorrelated, I'm going to give you a very simple definition. Stocks are uncorrelated to cash. Bonds are uncorrelated to life insurance. Stocks and bonds are uncorrelated to life insurance and cash, meaning cash and life insurance don't move if the markets go up and down. I know that if interest rates go higher, it affects the buying power of your money or your cash, but at the end of the day, they're not exposed to the market going up or down 30% any given 6-month period. A diversified investment strategy in a number of asset classes thus result in a robust and multifaceted portfolio and ROI with some non-correlated assets. This is a must for intelligent wealth management. Fiduciary, but make sure that your fiduciary is not the end all and be all, that they work in close proximity with your accountant, once again, with your trust officer, with your insurance agent, because at the end of the day, your fiduciary may not get paid if you buy real estate. However, they would get paid if you bought a REIT. So it's important to understand exactly what that looks like when it comes to your money and time. So we're going to talk about what are the most popular asset classes now, especially after COVID, especially after the new generation of investors that's happening all the time and the speed of social media. The movement is so fast that this is where you got to be careful, but at the same time, there is massive opportunities if you're properly positioned with your dollars. So what are the most popular asset classes? Though historically stocks have proven to have the highest long-term capital gain in asset classes. And let me just tell you something. There's a chart called the greatest chart ever. And it's always positioned to everybody at all times, especially when there's turmoil. Not to say the chart's not true, but I'm going to talk about it real fast. Since 1980 to 2021, the S&P 500, if in fact you allowed your dividends to stay within the portfolio, has averaged about 12% during that 40-year period. Within that period, though, every year, at some point on average, the account was down about 14%. And the point of that chart, which, by the way, when it comes to proper planning, you should never just sell when you get scared. But the point is, if you stay in the market and if you stay focused, what'll happen is 35 out of 41 times, it ended up at the end of the year from where it started. So in other words, we like to call that a mountain chart. Now, my question is, who kept their money in there for 41 straight years? Who kept their money in there when the market went down, especially in 08 when it was down 51% intra-year? And the people that did do it are the people that were focused and had a game plan. With that being said, as we go back to the definition, the modern day investor is seeing a lot of success in real estate, futures, and commodities. You know, real estate being a hard asset, and we know what real estate's done over the last 3 or 4 years. These areas are proving to be more and more popular and profitable in the modern economic atmosphere. So if I stepped away and talked about real estate, which by the way, I'm not promoting, I'm just giving you the mindset of how folks in that space think, there's 4 rates of return if they're an investor: cash flow, mortgage interest write-off, depreciation, as well as they expect over time the property to increase in value, right? If that mindset is there, and if you're doing everything for the long term, being situational on your strategies, you're gonna find yourself in a position where your wealth overall begins to blossom. So check it out. Why are asset classes useful? We're giving you a broad-based understanding of what's out there and where the opportunities lie. And as we get into this definition, just remember one thing. If you run your money through a scenario where you get uninterrupted interest to deploy into other areas, that's where the real magic is. We don't want to make it an end or. For example, I have money in my checking account or it's in my 401k. We're going to talk about why it's important to have an end. I have my money here and uninterrupted interest, it's earning money over here. Investing in several different asset classes ensures a certain amount of diversity, no doubt. But remember, weighted measurements, fiduciary, accountant, insurance agent, trust officer, all being on the same page. Each asset class, though, is expected to perform differently if they're uncorrelated. Risk and return investment characteristics will perform differently in any given market environment. Ultimately, it is about maximizing the returns. So once again, go ahead, click the link below. One of the team members here at Epic would love to sit down with you and take you through our success process. But with that being said, it's still not about getting rich overnight. You hear certain folks out there, my partner Chris Crone always talks about it, the wealthy people could do it in 5 years or less. But it's not because somebody knocks on the front door. It's because they have a system, a process, and a strategy that they stick to even when their people around them, their minds and their body may be telling them not to do it. In other words, they model greatness. They don't model average. If you begin to model greatness and you have in your mindset an economic philosophy with the right people around you, even in your business, if you have the right people around you, your business will explode. If you don't have the right people around you, your business will begin to tumble. Okay, so thank you so much for checking out the channel. Super, super grateful. We put a lot of time and effort, the whole team, in providing this information and value for you. The goal for us, real time as information's coming, to bring it to you and have it sit with your overall philosophy so you can make good decisions. If you like this, go ahead and hit the like button below, subscribe and ring that bell, and every day we're looking to serve and provide more education.